Okay, so I think usually people start to join like 5 minutes in, but I'll just start now because I want to get through all the problems. Um, so let me share my screen. Okay, so welcome to session 5, or is it session? Yeah, session 5 of the Logistem Linguistics Club of 2022. I'm Lucy, and Charlotte and Matthew are also going to be teaching these weeks. So basically, what is NACLO and IOL? So NACLO stands for the North American Computational Linguistics Open Competition, and it determines how many students get into the IOL, which is the International Linguistics Competition. And there are many ways that you can prepare for this class. One of the ways is you can take a foreign language class, which helps a lot because you kind of can see the pattern of these different languages. You can also get some textbooks, and this is the link for the handbook. There are practice problems, and if you do a ton of them, you'll start to get used to how to do linguistics problems. And then this is the link, and I'll send all of these links into the chat right now. All right, so this is the first problem. It's called Wheel of Fortune Cookies. So a popular category on the game show Wheel of Fortune is the before and after clue, in which contestants have to guess the middle word in a phrase like candy bar chart or Cheshire cat food. The fun of these phrases lies in the fact that even though each adjacent pair of words is a familiar combination, the resulting chain is often absurd. Below, we've used Google's Ngram viewer to construct chains of nouns where the two-word co-occurrence frequency is very high, but the three-word and 4 and 5 frequency is extremely low, like storm cloud cover letter. For each noun in the chain, we chose the noun that most frequently followed it in the Google's enormous collection of books. Storm was the most frequently followed by cloud. Cloud was the most frequently followed by cover. So if you just joined, you can read this real quick, but basically you have to try to figure out the puzzle and which words make sense. So for example, in candy bar is obviously something that we hear really often, and so is bar chart, but candy bar chart together doesn't really make a lot of sense. Each blank represents a letter, and as a hint, blanks with the same number under them represent the same letter. Remember that we want the most common two-word combination that starts with the given word, not just any two-word combination. So here you're just going to try to find which number corresponds to which letter, and then below, if you have extra time, you can make some pairings, and you can also private chat them to me. And I'll also share the link in the chat if you want to print out the problems. And I'll send the previous links again if you weren't here. No problem. So, yeah, if you're late and you came a little bit later, you can just read the directions above and do the problems and private chat me if you have any questions. I'll give you like 10 to 20 minutes to do this. Okay, so does anyone have any idea how to do it, or if you got a few of them, and then I can put them in? Or I can just go over it in a few minutes.
I don't really know if the first one's credit card game, but is it another word?
Yeah, so the first one is credit card game, because credit card's a really common phrase, and so is card game, so good job. So that means that one would be the letter D.
Is the second one ice cream cheese?
Yeah. Do you have any other ones?
Couch potato chip.
Uh-huh.
I'm not really sure about the fourth one though.
Okay, that's fine.
But I think the starting thing is bowling alley.
Yeah, it is. And then, I mean, this problem kind of takes a while, so I would give you guys more time, but I just want to get to all of them. But I'll just fill in the ones at the bottom. So for this one, flower blank, we already know that it ends with D, so if you just think about it, this would be bed, so 10 would be B. And then this fourth one here would be alley cat, and then cat food. So this is A. Okay, and then this bottom one here would be cowboy boot. And then if you think about boot blank and then a word with 4 letters, it would be camp. So 2 is, oh sorry, 3 is O. And I'll just fill it in since this is bed, and then bed rest, restroom, and then room temperature. So like this whole thing makes no sense at all, but like each word individually with the other word that's adjacent to it makes like a lot of sense. This one would be space shuttle, followed by bus, station, and then station wagon. So 13 is N, 12 is I, 14 is, right here is department. So if you think of the word that goes between camp and department, it would be fire, because campfire, and then fire department. So 12, yeah, we already filled that out. And then right here, it's beach house, house arrest, then arrest warrant. So I'll just fill in the rest of these. And then on the bottom, you had to make up your own. There are like a lot of possibilities for this, but I'll just list a few of them that you could have thought of. You could have done 3-word, 4-word, or 5-word combinations, just depended on how much you could think of. So olive oil spill is one of them. It could be broken heart attack, or something like Wild West side. Okay, so I'll give you a second to copy that down, and then we'll move on to the next problem. By the way, if you just joined, I'll send the link for all of the previous things again. So it's just the handbook and practice problems so you can get better at doing these linguistic problems. Okay.
So is it kind of like big fire?
Can you say that again, please?
These stick fire?
Yeah, that would work. There's really like a lot of combinations that you could do.
Okay.
Okay, so this next one is called transitional numbers. So the diagram below represents a transition network, also known as a finite state automaton. And the circles represent states, while the boxes represent letter sequences that can be generated from any given state, as indicated by the lines. The aim is to start at S and go to 0. For some boxes, there is a choice of transition. The lines are directional and would have been more messy to add the arrowheads, so note that you can only enter a state from the left, so you can go, so for example, over here, TY, you can go all the way there to S, but you can't go from S to TY because that isn't entering from the left. So below they give us a chart because if you were looking at this, it would be really confusing to figure out. So the above diagram is already quite messy and it can be represented more neatly by a set of rules on the next page. Each rule is identified in square brackets, but this is only for ease of reference in answering the questions. Apart from that, each rule consists of a state in a text string and then after the arrow, a list of states to which you can then move. Starting at position S, you generate the text indicated and then continue to any of the states after the arrow. And 0 is a special state that means finish. So there's no numbers or symbols after 0. I'll send this in the chat again because it's on 2 separate pages. And then, so for example, this is how you'd write out 14, which I'll explain in a minute. And then they want you to figure out these 4 numbers. And we'll do this one last, but the network above overgenerates, that is, it allows us to create words which are not valid numbers. For each of the following words, write yes if the word can be generated and no if the word cannot be generated. So let me show you guys real quick. If you were to write 14, you would always start from S, right? And then you would go to the 4. So below here, 4 is D. And then it says in the rules here that D, you can go to 0 or 1. So we're going to go over to 1 because that is next to the teen, which you need for 14. And after the 1, you would go to Q because Q is teen. And then from teen, you're at the end, which is 0. So it'd be D1, Q0. And then an example of something that would not work is, one second. Okay, so let's look at the first one, 110. So you can go from S to 1, that works, but there's no way for you to go from 1 to 10 unless you go to this network and then to T and then back to S. So that would be impossible. Okay, so you guys can start doing it and then just look at the PDF for the rules. I'll give you a few minutes and private chat me the answer if you get it.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So on the transitional numbers, on B it says 93, and in front of TY it has a 2, but in front of 9 it has an S. What are the S's? What do the S's mean?
Let me look real quick. So the S is just saying that it's a number from 1 to 12. It's not like, for example, teen and ty, they're not really numbers. They're kind of words that they end with. So they don't really, they're not in the code though. So for example, 93, first you would go from S, which is just the starting point. So S means start basically, from S to 9. And then you go down here and you see what 9 is. So 9 is I, and then you can go to 0, 1, or 2. So if you were to do 93, you would have to go to ty, so you would go to 2 first, and then 2 is r, and then to ty, and then back to s, and then to 3. So if that makes sense.
I get it. Thanks.
No problem. Okay, so I'm gonna go over it. If you want, you can include the S at the beginning, but you don't have to. And make sure you have the 0. Hold on, let me answer a question. So no, you can't go to 0 and then back to the beginning, because that is just the end and it's not connected to anything. Because remember that you have to enter a number from the left side. So you would either have to figure out a way to go from TY to S and then continue, or it would just be impossible. Alright, so the first one you guys had to find was 16. So you start from S and you go to F to get the 6, then you go to 1, and then T is Q, and then 0. 93 S, I, then 9, then 2 R, S, C, O. Okay, 28 is S, O, 2 R, S, H, 0. And then 15 is S, N, 1, Q, 0. Okay, so for these ones, you would just have to say if they worked or not. So this first one we already know isn't possible. So we'll put an N. The second one is possible. You can go to 5 and then T and then 12. This one is not possible because you can't go from teen back to the beginning. This one is possible. Okay, so the above network currently generates a misspelling in the case of 18, as well as any other number that begins with 80. This can be fixed by removing the rule H and replacing it with 2 new rules, both of which will be similar to H. In your answer sheet, write the 2 new rules that need to replace H. So if you go up here, I don't know if you guys noticed, but 80 is spelled like this, right? But if you were to go from 8, which already has 1 T, and then go to here again, it would have 2 T's, which is incorrect. So you want to come up with 2 new ways that you can switch the rule H and then make it the correct form. So one way to do it is you can change H to when you go to 8, you automatically go to 0, and then you can add a rule that if you had 8 without a T, you could go to 1 or 2. And then another way to do it would be you can add 2 new rules. So the first one would be S8. Notice that there's no T, and then it could go to 1, 2, or 3, but then you would also need to change the other one. So if you were to go to 3, you had to create a new one, and then this would go to 0. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions and try to message me the answers so I can know when you guys are done. Okay, so this is the last problem. So Aymara is a South American language spoken by more than 2 million people in the area around Lake Titicaca, which is 12,507 feet above sea level. It's the highest navigable lake in the world, and among the speakers of Aymara are the Euros, a fishing group who live on artificial islands woven from reeds that float on the surface of Lake Titicaca. So below are 7 fishermen that describe what they caught, but note that one of them is lying. So you have to figure out which one's lying, and you have to figure out what catch they're talking about. Okay, so we know that this word or this form probably means fish because every fisherman has to say that they fished something. So I'm just gonna write that down. And then you want to look for the number of fish and the size of the fishes. So words that appear a lot in all 8 phrases. So ma appears a lot, you have to figure out what that means. Kimsa also appeared a few times. So you don't know if this means the numbers or if it means how large the fish is. Papaya. Something else that comes up a lot is Hotch. So yeah, I'll give you guys a few minutes to work. This might take a little bit longer, so I'll give you guys some time to work on that. If you're done matching up the numbers with their catches, you can also work on exercise number 2, which is describing the picture on the right.
Is pi a 3?
I will message you because I don't want to ruin it for everyone if they're still working on it, but I'll private message you. Okay, so I saw that some of you already figured it out. So let me explain. We already know that this means fish because it is the last word of every single sentence. And then the numbers are Mapaya and Princess. So 1, 2, 3. You can kind of just see what each fisher said and figure that out. But remember that one of them is lying. So this is the root word of fish, but there are also words that have LLA at the end, and that means little fish. So whenever you see that, it would indicate that it is a small one, and then Haka means big fish. There's no really term for medium fish, so it would just be if it doesn't specify what kind it is. And another indicator that there are two kinds of fish in one catch is if it has MPI at the end. Okay, so one is G. So let's just look at this real quick. Ma means one, so there's one big fish that they caught. This one is supposed to be B, but it's also the lie because let's look at B right here. Kimsa means 3, which is right, but these are all medium-sized fish, so it would be a lie because he didn't actually catch that. And then I'm just gonna fill the rest in. Now below is the catch that you fished, and you have to describe it without lying. There's different ways to phrase it too, but the most common is probably by saying Isa Chawala, which means that there are 3 fish. So we put MPI because there are 2 different kinds, big and small. So 3 small fish, notice that it has LLA at the end, and then 2 big fish. Or you could also put the big one first, it doesn't really matter. And then I think you get the gist of it. So yeah, you guys are free to leave. If you joined a little bit later, I'll go back to the first slide and really quickly explain what you missed. But have a great weekend and thank you for coming and make sure you come next week. Alright, so basically NACLO stands for the North American Computational Linguistics Open Competition, and the date for it this year is January 26th, 2023. And if you pass that round, you get into the IOL, which is the international round, and there are a ton of ways to prepare for it. You can take a foreign language class, which are offered at most middle schools and high schools. It'll really help you learn about different kinds and how the grammar works and all that. And there are textbooks. You can also see the handbooks and a lot of practice problems. And then this is just a YouTube video link to see what kinds of problems there are. So yeah, I'm gonna end the meeting now, but thank you so much for coming. Bye guys.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.